So I guess we're back again today to talk about how this entire platform is completely crumbling right now because the corporate executives are running around in total panic, trying to change the rules of the game every single week without giving anyone a heads up about how the changes could affect the whole platform. If you remember my video from last month, I talked about how the intense legal pressure building up over in the United Kingdom was going to spark a severe crisis, and that is exactly what we're seeing play out right now as executives desperately scramble to patch up the website before things get even worse for their player base. Now, some news outlets and Twitter have been spreading rumors that the game is going to get banned outright, but the actual truth behind the situation is far more complicated, and it shows how terrified the executives are of losing their audience to these international regulations. They're dealing with a stressful situation where they're forced to completely rewrite how their website operates because they need to show international governments that they can control who uses their servers and who talks to who while people are trying to play games with their friends. To really understand why the platform is in such a messy state right now, we have to look directly at the actual legal statements coming from the United Kingdom government. The lawmakers over there have been aggressively pushing forward with a sweeping plan that aims to completely restrict children under 16 from accessing traditional social media apps in an effort to give kids their childhood back and protect them from online danger. When this news first started blowing up across the internet, the entire community immediately started stressing out because he assumed the Roblox platform would be thrown to the exact same bucket and get shut down for millions of teenagers. Now, Roblox actually managed to avoid that specific total ban because the regulators officially chose to classify the website as a gaming platform rather than a standard social media network like Instagram or TikTok. The chief safety officer, Matt Kaufman, even had to sit down for an interview with Sky News to publicly push back against government proposals, where he explicitly warned politicians that going overboard with outright bans is a dangerous approach that does more harm than good. Now, this is honestly pretty hilarious when you look at what he and the executives are actually doing behind closed doors. Because while Matt Kaufman is out here talking on interviews and begging politicians not to ban kids from the internet, the Roblox corporation that he works for literally just rolled out a massive global update this week that does the exact same thing to its own player base. We already know that only a few days ago, they officially pushed out these heavily restricted account tiers globally with the Roblox Kids update, meaning if you're a normal player who can't or won't pass their mandatory facial age scans, they completely strip away your ability to type in the chat, and they block you from entering a vast majority of popular games on the entire website overnight. And the worst part about all of this is that it didn't even give parents or developers any real time to prepare for this massive shift, so you literally have regular teenagers logging on right now, only to find out that their favorite games are completely blocked, and their accounts are basically locked down like a high security prison for no actual reason. It completely exposes how hypocritical these corporate executives really are, because they will happily lecture the media about the dangers of cutting kids off from their friends, but the second their own wallets are on the line, they have absolutely zero problem factoring the entire community and locking millions of loyal players out of the game just to satisfy international regulators. But even though they successfully argue their way out of a total blanket shutdown, the lawmakers still hit them with a very strict set of alternative rules that illegally forces the platform to change its core features. The new guidelines state that any gaming platform operating inside a country must block accounts under 16 from using live streaming features, and they must disable the ability for any stranger to contact a minor in any public or private space. This rule is where the real nightmare begins, because trying to legally guarantee to a government body that strangers cannot communicate with children means you have to completely dismantle the basic social framework that made the platform popular in the first place. The engineers over at Roblox are now working under immense amount of stress to roll out these communication blocks, but they're running into a complex situation that is very difficult to navigate. While they technically could just region lock these updates to the United Kingdom, doing that opens up massive loopholes with players using VPNs to bypass the system, which puts the company at risk for massive legal fines. So instead of wasting time trying to patch up individual countries one by one, the executives almost always take the fastest path of least resistance by forcing strict localized regulations onto the entire global player base overnight just to cover their own tracks. To prove to the UK authorities that they're actually enforcing strict age boundaries, they turn to the age verification system we all know, where they're forcing every single user to undergo mandatory facial age estimation, and they're using Persona to run all these forced facial scans and handle the database containing people's physical information because they're completely terrified of getting hit with devastating legal fines or being added to the government ban list if they do not comply with the strict rules by the deadline. The executives are at a point where they generally don't know what they're even doing because they know they have zero room for error with the international authorities, and this pure panic is causing them to push out completely untested security measures that end up completely breaking the core functions of the website for normal players who just want to hang out. And because everything is being rushed out of the door so quickly, the automated systems are constantly messing up and falsely flagging even classic games, for instance, for literally no reason while the engineers try to fix the bugs on the fly. It honestly feels like they're completely tearing down the entire infrastructure of the game piece by piece just so they can show some government officials a clean checklist of compliance features before the deadline hits next spring. The corporate executives are watching their public image crumble, while multiple governments breathe down their necks at the exact same moment, which is exactly why they're throwing these broken updates at the wall to look like they're fixing the problem, when in reality they're just protecting their own wallets from billion-dollar judgments and bad public relations. And at the end of the day, they're just going to keep pushing these extreme restrictions as long as the legal pressure keeps building up against them, because they will always choose corporate survival and the money over the actual community. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video today, and I'll see you in the next one.